What if I told you that most traditional English learning methods are fighting against your brain's natural wiring? That grammar drills and vocabulary lists might actually be slowing you down? For decades, we've been approaching language learning backwards. We've been focusing on what to learn, while ignoring how our brains actually want to learn. Hello, everyone. I'm your name, and today we're doing something completely different. We're not just learning English, we're learning how to learn English. We're exploring the incredible neuroscience behind language acquisition, and I'm going to show you exactly how to make your brain's natural wiring work for you, not against you. Let's start with the most fundamental question. What exactly happens in your brain when you learn English? Meet your brain's language centers. This area here, Broca's area, is your speech production headquarters. It helps you form sentences, conjugate verbs, and articulate words. And right here, Wernicke's area, is your comprehension center. It processes meaning, understands vocabulary, and makes sense of what you hear. But here's what most language courses don't tell you. These areas don't work in isolation. They're part of an enormous network, what neuroscientists call the language network. And when you learn effectively, you're not just activating one small region, you're lighting up this entire network like a Christmas tree. Now, let me introduce you to the most important concept in modern neuroscience: neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is your brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout your life. Every time you learn a new English word, every time you understand a grammar rule, every time you successfully have a conversation, you're physically changing your brain's structure. You're literally building new roads and highways between your brain cells. Let me show you what I mean. Take this simple English sentence. I walked to the store yesterday. When you first learn this, a few weak connections form. But when you actually use this sentence, when you say it out loud, write it in a message, or hear it in context, those connections strengthen. They become myelin-coated, like electrical wires getting better insulation. This makes the signal travel faster and more efficiently. The implication is revolutionary. Struggle is not failure. Struggle is the physical process of your brain rewiring itself. Every time you struggle to find the right word, every time you make a mistake and correct it, you're not failing. You're building stronger neural pathways. Now that we understand our brain's hardware, let's talk about its storage systems, how memory actually works. You have three main memory systems working when you learn English. First, sensory memory, that brief moment when you hear a word and it echoes in your mind. Then, working memory, your mental workspace where you actively process information. And finally, long-term memory, your brain's vast library. The critical bottleneck is here, between working memory and long-term memory. Most traditional learning methods overload working memory with grammar rules and word lists, never allowing information to transfer to long-term storage. It's like trying to pour water through a tiny funnel. Most of it just spills over the sides. This brings us to one of the most robust findings in memory research, the spacing effect. Your brain learns better when exposure to information is spread out over time. Studying English for 30 minutes every day is dramatically more effective than studying for 3.5 hours once a week, even though the total time is the same. Why? Because forgetting is a feature, not a bug. When you learn something, then forget it slightly, then relearn it. You're actually strengthening the memory each time. It's like exercise for your neurons. The struggle to retrieve makes the memory stronger. Now let's talk about your brain's secret weapon, emotional memory. This is your amygdala, your brain's emotion center. When you learn something with emotional significance, the amygdala tags that memory as important and prioritizes it for long-term storage. This is why you remember embarrassing moments from years ago, but forget what you had for breakfast yesterday. So, how do we use this? Stop learning boring word lists. Instead, connect vocabulary to personal experiences. Learn food words while cooking. Learn travel phrases while planning a trip. The stronger the emotional connection, the stronger the memory. Now for the practical part, let's transform this science into actionable strategies. First, interleaving. Most learners study one topic at a time, all past tense one day, all business vocabulary the next. But research shows that mixing different topics and skills leads to better long-term learning. Instead of studying 30 vocabulary words about weather, study 10 weather words, 10 cooking terms, and 10 business phrases. Your brain has to work harder to distinguish between categories, and that extra effort creates stronger learning. Next, multi-sensory learning. The more senses you involve, the more neural pathways you create. Don't just read words. Say them out loud, engaging Broca's area. Write them by hand, engaging motor cortex. Act them out, engaging kinesthetic memory. Each sense creates an additional retrieval path in your brain. Perhaps the most important principle: context is everything. Your brain didn't evolve to learn isolated facts. It evolved to learn patterns and connections in meaningful contexts, learning the word. Procrastinate from a list versus learning it from a story about someone procrastinating. On their taxes, the contextual version creates multiple connection points in your brain. You remember the situation, the emotions, the outcome, and the word gets attached to all of it. This is why immersion works so well. But you don't need to move to an English-speaking country. You can create mini immersions, English-only hours, watching movies without subtitles, thinking in English during your commute. Let's get even more practical with some brain hacks you can start using today. First, sleep is not downtime. Sleep is when your brain consolidates learning. During deep sleep, your brain replays the day's experiences, strengthening important memories and discarding irrelevant ones. Studies show that people who sleep after learning retain significantly more than those who stay awake. So that English lesson, review it before bed, then let your brain do the work overnight. Here's a mindset shift. Mistakes are not failures. They're learning opportunities. Brain scans show that when we make mistakes, there's increased activity in regions involved with attention and memory. Errors create desirable difficulties that enhance learning. So embrace mistakes. They're literally making you smarter. Finally, manage your stress. High cortisol levels impair memory formation. If you're anxious about speaking English, you're fighting against your own biology. Simple breathing exercises before practice sessions can significantly improve learning outcomes. Remember, a calm brain is a learning brain. Let's bring this all together. Traditional learning focuses on information. Scientific learning focuses on transformation, transforming your brain's actual structure. Your new learning plan should include spaced repetition instead of cramming, interleaving instead of blocking, multisensory engagement instead of passive reading, contextual learning instead of isolated memorization, and embracing mistakes instead of fearing them. I used to struggle with language learning too. It wasn't until I understood how my brain wanted to learn that everything clicked. I stopped fighting my brain and started working with it. Your mission is this: pick one principle from this video and apply it for 1 week. Maybe it's spaced repetition with a flashcard app. Maybe it's creating emotional connections to new vocabulary. Then, come back to the comments and tell us what happened. I read every single comment. Thank you for investing this time in understanding your most powerful learning tool, your brain. Remember, you're not just learning a language, you're upgrading your mind. Keep curious, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next video.